and welcome to The Flash, Up to Speed with Wally West. I'm Javi Trujillo, and I am the Flash fan. Today we are going to be looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, The Flash, JLA New World Order figure. This just came out within the last month, depending on where you bought it. I ordered mine from McFarlane Toys, and I got a backup from Amazon, but while that one came later, it also came damaged in the box, so much for being mint. Speaking of the box, quick turnaround here where you can see Howard Porter's art. And it's just the typical McFarlane box. You get a window at the top, UPC at the bottom. But let's get into the package here. Here is Wally straight out of the package. Your basic museum type pose. We've got the DC base, which is back to that classic bullet that we've seen on the last year or so of figure releases. Two openly splayed hands right here, almost kind of like jazz hands. A running knife hand, he's pumping his fist, and a pointer finger so he can do the Spider-Man meme or Harrison Ford always pointing his finger, making his point. Kind of an odd choice, but I'll take it. I'm sure I'll figure out something of Wally pointing. And of course the card. This is featuring the Howard Porter art from JLA #1, which is what this figure is supposed to be based on, the New World Order story arc that Grant Morrison launched with Howard Porter. And you've got all his stats on the back. Again, Crisis on Infinite Earths is his first appearance as the Flash, not counting his first appearance as Wally West as Kid Flash. Shows his base of operations as Keystone. Pretty standard card, but there we go. Like a lot of McFarlane toys, this one is reusing a buck from previous figures. This is actually going to be matching the Justice League Task Force figure that we saw. I thought I reviewed it. I did not review it. So we'll take a look at that in just a little bit, but it's basically reusing that mold, which in itself was using other hero molds. So not the prior Barry Allen Flash figure molds that we've been seeing. The paint apps on this are just fantastic. The gold really makes this figure pop. He's got great definition. The musculature is all there, but it's not over-designed. I think a lot of Flash costumes since the New 52 just over-designed the hell out of the suit with too many lines. And this is a perfect costume. Like, you didn't really need what they did when they made this version that debuted in the Flash 50. They just tweaked it slightly. They didn't go too crazy with it. They changed the belt to have more of a V. It's not straight across anymore. They gave him white lenses in his eyes, and just an overall sheen. While this doesn't have the red sheen that you would associate with it, it does. It did kind of transition to more of this look, especially around this era. So I think this is a fair representation of it being from Justice League JLA New World Order. I don't feel like they're trying to capture Howard Porter's art style, which is okay. This is a base Wally West figure, and the important details are there. Like I said, the white eyes, the lightning belt going in that particular design, no wings on the boots. It's just a solid basic Flash figure. The gold lightning on his wrists, that's all painted on. It's not a separate piece like the belt is, which, it keeps the cost down. I'm okay with it. It looks fairly good. I don't see any deficiencies on how it was painted on my figure. So articulation's your typical McFarlane articulation. You got the butterfly there. Great arm bending poses. Legs can definitely give you lots of ways to pose him in a running pose. You got the double jointed knee. Ankles have a heel. I'm sorry, they all have a heel, but you have toe flexion, and a good range of motion here with the twist. Head can a little limited in looking up, but that's okay. It's not beyond human range, I don't think, really. And then looking down, like I said, it's all good range of motion, and you can get some pretty great running poses like we've seen already, like the one he comes packaged in. Here he is side by side with his Justice League Task Force video game counterpart. This figure on the left came out first. It was December 2024, I think it was released, or at least that's when I got mine. It came on like Christmas Eve, which I was surprised it got delivered. And I really did love this figure when it came out because it is the closest to that, to what I think of as a classic Wally suit. And with the other figures in the line, they are pretty heavy on that pixelation to give it that Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis look. And this one, I feel like it's pretty well built in. There's not a lot of it. We'll punch in a little closer here. You can see some of it. In fact, I barely notice it when it's on the shelf. I'm actually looking at it really closely now, and I can see that there's some of it here painted on the muscles I never really noticed before, or on the abs. Not even sure if the camera is picking it up. It still, to me, is not coming off on the reds as much. But when you look at, the belt, obviously it's got that coloration there, and on his boots, which I kind of like it. If you've seen those cell shaded comic looking figures, I think this does a good job of capturing that. The problem with this figure is the mask. It's the same one as this one, but when it comes to the pixelation, this just looks like a hot mess to me. I don't think the pixelated look carries over well for this figure. It looks like someone just kind of smeared and dabbed paint on it. It doesn't carry the theme of it over too well. I wouldn't say it ruins the figure, but it does kind of take it down a notch for me. And obviously, doing the pixelated version of the chest, like that's going to be a little awkward there. Oh, there we go. Now you can definitely see the paint apps on the abdomen, where you can see where they tried to do that pixel art. Like the logo is great. It's just, it's pixelated. So if you want that clean look, it's not going to be there, because that's not the style of this figure. From the shelf, when I enter my room, when I enter the office, and I see it, like it looks like a perfect Flash logo. But when you examine it up close, you see all the little details, and yeah, it looks just kind of blotchy there. But this was, what lots of people were saying online. I would comment on their posts too, like just release this as this guy, and you'll make everybody happy. And this also came with a piece so you could build your own dark side. And then he has this punching effect for one of the video game moves. You can see him punching like that. So you've got that streak where they're trying to recapture that. But I mean, this is basically the same figure as that. It's just, how do you like your Flash painted? And obviously, this guy is the way to go. Somehow I managed to squeeze the 6 Wally West McFarlane Toys figures that I have together in the frame. We've got the Rebirth suit from when he came back after being lost in the New 52, the Dark Knight's Death Metal suit where he was infused with the powers with Dr. Manhattan as well, so it's why he's blue and has the little atom dot. This is just before the All-In era changed the suit again. He's fully the Flash now. He took the book back from Barry, and as you can see, there's a trend here where they've got the lightning bolt as something that's sculpted that goes outside. Not my favorite. It's a reuse of that New 52 Barry figure. So there's a lot of detailing here in the suit that it's too much. But obviously, little tweaks to the head sculpt here with the paint, really. And when they first solicited these, I didn't like them because the hair looked really weird in photos. And from some certain angles, it does look odd. But if you get it at just the right viewing point, the hair really works as a sculpt. This figure was another one where, I said it, like I hated that smile on social media. Like it creeped me out. It looks a lot better in person. It might look creepy in this video, but trust me, it does look better on the shelf, especially, again, you change your angle. It's not quite as bad. I think having a smiling Flash is a good thing. That is part of the character, be it Barry or Wally. Like they tend to be more optimistic and happy. So I think that works for him. And I really like the shading they did around the eyes. Just that little black line work that they add to it. It gives it a great dimensionality. but the boots are wrong for this suit. The texturing is wrong for this suit, but I do like the yellow here. Fortunately, they also gave us a Walter West suit. Wally was believed to have been trapped in the Speed Force, and this new Dark Flash emerged. They would kind of hint that it was black in the comics, like black and silver, but it always came off as like this deeper maroon or red. So I really like how McFarlane uh, took that and made it into a figure. And, I think they made it work in plastic form. It's not a figure that's ever been done by any other line that I can think of. So I'm happy to have him in this collection because he's an alternate. Well, he's not Wally West. He's Walter West from an alternate dimension where his Linda died. And he filled in for Wally for a little bit while Wally was, like I said, trapped in the Speed Force. Then we have, once again, the Justice League Task Force and the Justice League New World Order. So as you can see through this whole wave here, like there's a progression, and we got closer and closer to that Wally figure that I always wanted them to make. And overall, I think these actually look fairly good on the shelf. Not pictured here is the Crisis on Infinite Earths Kid Flash Wally West. He was really expensive. I think, well, he was really expensive for what these are offering, and compared to the other price points for this figure, which is like, 20 to 25 bucks depending. I think he was only at the McFarlane toy store, and it was like 35 or 50. I forget what it was, but I'm like, I'm not paying that much for this type of figure that they're offering. So, plus it was Kid Flash, not the Flash. But that is my Wally West figure. There's one more, my Wally West collection. There's one more comparison I want to make before we wrap this up. Okay, so this isn't the one that I was hinting at just a moment ago. I forgot there was one more Wally West figure I didn't show off from McFarlane Toys, and it's this Justice League animated series figure. So he's a little blockier, obviously, trying to capture that animated look. So details aren't exactly what you would expect from some of the other figures in the wave or in the line, but he's got great articulation. Obviously, he's really top heavy because that's the look of the show. But these feet, again, this is the look of the show. They would have these tapered legs and these huge upper torsos. And because of that, this guy was he was such a bear to stand, which is why I'm kind of holding. Yeah, that's why I was holding him. It's just one more Wally West figure I forgot to show off. And this costume is, inspired from this one. Just they simplified the lightning bolt, which is something that we've seen now that we've got Wally back as the main Flash. He's adopted that animated series lightning bolt. So I wanted to showcase that off really quick. All right, so this is the comparison I wanted to make because this guy here has been my go-to favorite Wally West Flash action figure since he came out. He was a Mattel figure that he was one of the collector. I forget what they called the wave, but he was an exclusive. He wasn't part of any particular wave. You had to get him, I think, maybe from their collectors club, and I believe I bought him off of eBay because I was not a member of their collectors club. But for me, this one was a perfect figure because it captured that look that I love with it. When I picture Wally West, this is the suit that I see him in, from Flash 50 on. And what I appreciate about this is that it does feel a lot like artist Greg LaRocque or LaRocque. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. But the lightning bolt looks very much like his style, just a little bit off kilter, a little thicker. The mask, the head, the way they depict the wing, the cowl wings, it does have that LaRocque feeling. Definitely is shiny, maybe not quite as red, although I think it depends on the light and the camera. But being one of the Mattel lines, they would just use this buck over and over and over and just kind of maybe paint some of the details, like his belt there, the shoes. Their Barry Allen figure, their classic Barry Allen figure from this is also one of my favorite Flash figures ever. There's a lot of similarities just in color here. But this was their basic model where all their figures kind of look like this, and they have this particular hinge. It's just the little details like the head and like these feet. If you've heard me talk in other videos, I love it when they depict the tread on the Flash's boots correctly. It was something that was in the Superpowers figure, and my dad pointed it out to me as a kid, and I just always loved that detail. I always kind of think of my dad when I see a Flash figure with like the correct tread. But this was my top figure. Um, and now we have the McFarlane, which a lot of the details are the same. They don't have the boot tread, unfortunately, but he he does have a little bit more presence than the one on the left. I feel like the symbol's more of like a classic Wally symbol, and I really like how this is a sculpted belt here. It makes it shine and pop out so much more because it's such a depth. But otherwise, I think both the golds are good for the gold pieces. I think I give McFarlane the edge though. I think this one has the crown as the greatest Wally West figure that's ever been made at this scale. So if you stuck with me this far, it's pretty obvious this is hands down my favorite Wally West figure, not just for being in this costume, but the whole package. Like the sculpt is great, the articulation is great, the price point is great. The only caveat I have is that orange, almost orangish face paint. I wish it was a little more beige, not quite as Oompa Loompa-ish, but otherwise, this is just a stellar action figure from McFarlane. It's a shame that this is it, but if they're going out with the license being transferred over, they're going out with a bang. The gold on this it pops. The lightning bolt's perfect. The belt looks perfect. The boots look perfect. It's pretty much a perfect figure. This is a 9.5 out of 10 for me, and that's pretty high marks, I think. So, have you guys picked up this figure? Did you pre-order it? Did you find it on the shelf? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, you are up to speed with Wally West. Take care.